Hey everybody, and welcome to today's Facebook Live. I am excited to be back here doing another Facebook Live with you. It's been a little while since I have done one of these, so welcome. And if you are joining me, take a second to say hey and introduce yourself. Today in this Facebook Live, which I'm also recording as a podcast, so if you're listening to this as a podcast later, that's awesome. But today we are going to talk about some Etsy changes and some marketplace shifts that I am seeing as a seller on Etsy and sort of that are making my spidey senses tingle for things that we should be really hyper aware of as sellers on the platform, and ways that we can take advantage of both the things that the platform is providing, but also be aware of potential changes that are coming up. I think it is really important to be sort of aware of and analyzing the things that Etsy is showing us that they're prioritizing as we go, because it just kind of prepares you for potential things that other people are caught off guard by, but you don't need to be, because usually Etsy is pretty, I wouldn't say transparent about how things are changing, but they give us hints about the things that they are changing. So one example of this was I had a podcast episode that I did, I guess it was, I don't know, it was like 2 years ago at this point, or almost 2 years ago, about how Etsy was clearly pushing free shipping. And this was before they had announced that it was free shipping, that they were going to like make this change towards free shipping, but they had laid that foundation for months leading up to that. And so it wasn't surprising to those of us that were prepared. So I am, seeing some of those same kinds of things. Before we dive into those, I'm sorry, I'm kind of interrupting myself here, but I do want to remind you that the waiting list for Scale Your Sales is open right now. ScaleYourEtsySales.com is that link, and the course is opening on Friday. So I've had some questions about that, and that waiting list is there, ScaleYourEtsySales.com. So one of the biggest changes that I have seen, or sort of a shift that I'm seeing that Etsy trend towards, is a really big push toward buyer confidence. This is something that I think sort of began prior to COVID last year, but then it was kind of paused for a brief period of time, and I am seeing them push harder and harder over the last few months as we've moved into 2021. So prior to COVID, if you were not on Etsy before that, or if you just weren't aware of this, Etsy had ODR. They called it ODR. It was order dissatisfaction rate, which is a really negative way of saying it, but it was all about customer service, buyer feedback. Basically, as the seller, you were expected to have a 99% positive experience rate based on reviews and cases that were brought against you. And if you cross that threshold of having more than 1% of your sales end up with a negative review or end up with a case, you are at risk of being shut down. They sent you this warning. They had this whole trial period thing that they did. So when COVID started, they suspended ODR. So that was a good thing, for a lot of reasons, but there were a lot of postal delays. Obviously, we've all lived through that. There was kind of just this huge upheaval. So one way that Etsy said that they were helping us as sellers and sort of supporting the seller community was to suspend this ODR and not put your shop at risk if you were having issues with, really mad buyers because their package were really delayed or whatever. But what ultimately ended up happening that I don't know if Etsy or anyone really anticipated was when masks became mandatory in a lot of places, and when the CDC started really pushing masks, there was a huge influx of buyers to Etsy to buy masks. And there was a huge influx of sellers who were new sellers or completely new to the platform, or just sellers that had shifted into this mask market, or honestly, there were a lot, unfortunately, of just scammers who were taking advantage of this new situation that they could take advantage of. So the result of that was that there has been, and I have seen this off of Facebook, off of Etsy, on different platforms like forums and stuff, where Etsy's reputation as sort of a reputable source, or the buyer confidence in buying from Etsy has fallen a little bit. And that is not good for Etsy as a publicly traded company. And frankly, it's not good for us as sellers. So I am seeing Etsy react to this in a way to really begin to try to push that buyer confidence really strongly. That is, I don't disagree with this. It poses challenges for us as sellers, which we'll get into, but I think that the ultimate importance of Etsy as a platform is to have that buyer confidence. It's not good for any of us when people don't trust the platform, when it becomes like an eBay or even like Facebook prior to the marketplace and stuff, like, oh, well, if you just send somebody your money, you may or may not ever get your product. So I'm seeing them really, really prioritize working on building back this buyer confidence, and also at the same time being able to compete and stay competitive in the online space, in terms of having quick shipping and all of those things. So let's talk about what that means for you as a seller. As a summary, I would say what it really means is that your customer service is of absolute utmost importance, and that it is extremely important for you as the seller to have high touch service with people and really quick turnarounds. That's one of the big things that Etsy is pushing right now. And I think not only does it make it easier for them to track as a platform, like it makes it easier. You sell something, you have a 3-day processing time. The buyer knows within a week or two whether or not it's going to get there, whether or not you ever shipped it, all of those things, versus like a 6 weeks turnaround time where it drags things out. But it also just makes for happier customers. So fast processing times are one of the things that I am seeing Etsy push more and more. It seems like, and this has been true actually for a while, but it seems like Etsy rewards anecdotally shops when they ship things out. So if you have a whole bunch of outstanding orders, so for instance, right now I have like 80 outstanding orders. My employee is at my workshop right now working on those. I will ship those out tomorrow morning. I could almost guarantee you that tomorrow will be a really big sales day for me. When I go through my orders and I print those shipping labels and I take them to the post office and get them scanned, I almost always have a really big sales day that same day. So Etsy is rewarding shops for getting those things out, and that seems to have an impact on your sales and your search placement and all of that. They're also making it a lot easier for buyers to sort by fast turnaround time. So if you go to the Etsy search, particularly on the desktop, I don't search for stuff on my phone very much, so I'm not sure how the app looks and everything. But on the desktop, there are pretty prominent places where you can sort things by, I want to receive this within a week, or I want to receive this by X date or whatever. So when you're shopping for something, if I'm shopping for product A and I'm shopping for product B and they're similar products, but this one ships within 3 days and this one takes 3 weeks to ship, I'm going to buy this one because I'm impatient. And ultimately buyers are impatient, and then that's going to be a big thing. Additionally, Etsy also has a place on your shipping profiles, if you have profiles set up, where they again stress that fast processing times are big and they are important to buyers. All of these pieces, individually, you might look at all of those and say like, well, it seems like Etsy definitely, maybe kind of wants you to search for things or to ship things out quickly or whatever. But together, I would say that all of those things are really showing us that this is something that Etsy is highly prioritizing. I would say that they're probably, if I were going to make a crystal ball prediction, that this will probably become something, if it already is not, that is a part of your placement in the search, that shops that ship quickly are ranked higher in search. I would argue that it's probably already happening. They're just not really telling us that. I think anecdotally we see that in search results and sales. The other part of it is your customer service, answering messages quickly. Etsy has said that they expect us to answer messages within 24 hours. I know that I've talked about this in the past, but several years ago, they used to have a customer service like tab on your dashboard, and it showed what percentage of packages were going out on time, which percentage were overdue, how quickly you were answering messages, how many messages, like a percentage wise, you weren't answering, that you were leaving, and all of those things. They don't show you that anymore, but I have long said that I 100% believe that they are still tracking those metrics. They're just not showing them to us anymore. So if you've noticed on Etsy search recently, if you go into a shop, it will say like, message Lauren. Lauren will usually reply within 2 hours or whatever. They're telling us that the expectation is 24 hours. However, I will say that I think that the quicker you answer those messages and the quicker that you get back to people, the better that is, both for the conversion rate of actually hooking those people as customers, but also as those metrics are happening behind the scenes on Etsy. I think that they are really pushing that. And again, I have seen off of Facebook, off of Etsy, in forums and stuff that people are complaining. You know, I messaged 5 sellers and only one of them ever got back to me. I think that Etsy is really wanting to weed out those people who are not willing to put in that effort and put in that time and serve their customer in that way. The last thing that I will say with this is good reviews. You obviously cannot force people to leave reviews, nor do you need to be like begging and bribing people to leave reviews. But good reviews are always going to help your shop. Anecdotally, I have seen a major increase in the number of reviews that are left on my shop, the percentage of reviews that are left on my shop when those other pieces happen. So if I have, let's say, a 2 to 3 week turnaround for my items, I very rarely get reviews left on those items. If I have a 3 to 5 day turnaround time, I get a lot of reviews. That again is just my experience, and I have heard that same experience from students of mine. So I would say that it would hold true across the board. But if reviews are something that you're struggling with, if you're not getting as many reviews as you want, upping that processing time, making it faster really helps. In my opinion, the reason for that is because people are impatient. So if I order something and it ships within 3 days and it takes 3 days to get to me, and so, you know, I order it on Monday and it arrives in my mailbox on Saturday, I'm like, that's awesome. That's great. I'm so excited about this product. I was excited when I bought it on Monday, and I'm still excited when I get it on Saturday. If I order something and it takes 3 weeks to ship and then, 3 days to get here or whatever, so I order it the beginning of May and it shows up on Memorial Day weekend, I'm slightly less excited about it. Like, my instant gratification has long since worn off. And so I'm not as likely to be like really pumped about this purchase. I've kind of like forgotten that I even bought it, and, I've been waiting for it forever. So I find a very big correlation between the number of reviews that are left and how quickly I'm getting things out. And I do think that those good reviews, that's, it's just a feedback mechanism that works within Etsy and the algorithm to say, not only are people buying from this shop, but then they're happy with those purchases as well. In terms of market shifts that I'm seeing with buyers and with kind of the platform, there are a few things that I'm sort of testing and not quite sure about, and other things that I am seeing pretty strongly. So the first one I want to talk about is free shipping. Free shipping is something that I have pushed for a long time, and that Etsy, what's the word I'm looking for, really strongly, says that we need to offer free shipping. They're saying that explicitly. But what I have found in my experience recently is that it is really highly dependent on your industry. Make sure that you're pricing competitively with or without free shipping. And I'm not 100% convinced that free shipping across the board is always going to be the best decision if your shipping prices are fairly high and you're having to add those shipping prices into the product cost. If the shipping is a high percentage or proportion of what they're paying that you're adding into the costs, it can be a little bit not as advantageous to add that into the price when your competition is not doing it, and so they're showing up in search at a lower price point. So for example, I have seen this recently for my baby quilts. I was pricing my baby quilts at like $42 or something, but then it cost me like $7 or $8 to ship. When I started searching for my, that was with free shipping, so $42 with free shipping. But when I was searching for a similar product on Etsy to kind of look and see what the competition was doing, I was finding that a lot of people were pricing in the $30 to $35 price point with shipping not included. So ultimately, it might end up very similarly priced. However, when you're comparing those two side by side, which are extremely similar products, they're like the same product. When somebody's priced theirs at $32 and I've priced mine at $42, even though it says free shipping, I would say that there is a psychological break there with people wanting to click on my product that's priced, 30% higher, even though I include shipping. So I think that this is something that you're going to have to analyze for your shop. I can't say across the board that it does or does not work. I think it's really highly dependent on your industry and your competition and kind of where you're falling with it. But I am not as quick to say that I think free shipping across the board for every shop, for every product, everywhere is always going to be the best choice. The next thing that I am seeing a lot of are DIY kits. If you have something that you are able to make a DIY kit, a crafting kit, or whatever, this is a huge market shift and a huge trend that is happening right now, and it's really big. COVID really brought about the crafter, the baker, the homemaker, in all of us, I guess, being at home, sort of the baking the bread and all of those things have gotten really big. Maybe not as much as they were last year, but I would say that those trends, people picked up hobbies that they hadn't done before. And I think from art kits to embroidery kits, painting, and more, I'm seeing a lot of DIY kits really being a big hit for sellers. So if you have a product that you're able to get into that as a trend, knowing that it probably won't last forever, it may have its day and then it may wane, but this is something that I'm seeing a really big trend with. If you want to hear more about a student of mine that went down this road and has had a lot of success with it, there was a recent podcast about multiple revenue streams, and she talks about selling embroidery kits in her shop. The next thing that I am beginning to see and read about online in terms of trends is that people are getting back to parties, weddings, bachelorette, graduation. I think the holidays will be really big. Summertime parties, as people are, being more comfortable getting back out in public, as vaccination rates have gone up and all of that. People are ready for some normalcy, and maybe you're not throwing a 500-person wedding, but I know in my own life, my sister is in her mid-20s and she has gone to like 4 weddings in the past 6 weeks. So those things are happening again. They are back. And if you are in those industries, then I think that it is really important to make sure that you have everything optimized and ready for the search, because I think that those products, while they had a huge hit last year with the lack of parties and lack of sort of public celebrations, that's back and people are ready for it. Same thing with vacations. If you have things like beach themed or like bachelorette parties, girls' weekends, all of those kinds of things, I think people are ready to do that again. The last thing I want to talk about, which this is something that we are going to dive into more on Thursday. I'll do another one of these Thursday, 10:30 a.m. Are ads. Etsy ads have really struggled in the last 6 months or so. I am not finding them to be particularly effective, and I am finding them to be extremely expensive. I think that it is very, very important that you're hyper aware of your numbers if you're running Etsy ads. And we are going to go through a real step-by-step of how you break that down, how you figure out what you're paying, and how you figure out whether or not that works for you and your price point in your business on Thursday. I hope that this has been a helpful live and that this is information that is helpful for you moving forward to plan for your shop and plan for changes. I am going to answer some questions, but I do want to just remind you once again that Scale Your Sales is opening Friday morning, only Friday through Monday. This is just a quick little thing. I'm not doing the masterclass or anything. This is just a brief doors open for people who want to get in, get their shop optimized and ready to go before the summer months hit and be really, really poised and ready to take advantage of this awesome fall holiday season that I think that we are going to have. So be on the lookout for that email on Friday morning. If you're not on the waiting list yet, scaleyouretsySales.com is where you sign up for that. All right, so that's where I'm going to cut off the podcast. So now I can answer some questions if anybody has any questions. So I see a few ask if this is going to be available later. It will be. I'll leave the recording in the group. Deborah asked, do you know why they won't let guests leave reviews? I don't know why, other than I'm sure it probably has something to do with how they tie the guests. You know, you have to have an account to leave a review, and the guest purchases are not tied to the account. So maybe it doesn't track what their purchases are as well. I know with Etsy, which this is a very good thing, they've always been very adamant about only people who have verified purchases on the product can leave reviews. And so I would guess that it's probably somehow that the guest accounts don't tie to the purchases. Susan asked, I send a note with my package and when sending a note when I ship it. Is there another way to get more reviews? Well, like I talked about, I think sending things out as quickly as possible is one way. I think sending the note with the package, the automated note that goes out when you hit send. Other than that, I don't know that I would push any further. Like I wouldn't send a message explicitly asking people to leave reviews and stuff. I think that you're likely to get more sort of ambivalent reviews, or also like some people just get really turned off by that and they could potentially leave bad reviews. Know that the conversion rate for people who leave reviews, like that buy and then leave reviews, is fairly low. I would say, you know, if you have 25% of people that leave reviews, you're doing pretty well. So that's kind of just standard. It's just a low percentage of people. Do you think Etsy sees having a no return policy as a hit against buyer confidence? I don't think necessarily that Etsy sees that in terms of the algorithm. However, I do think that there is a correlation between the actual buyer as an individual and their confidence and having a no return policy. So I think this is highly dependent on what you make. If you make things that are personalized or custom or in any way like just for that buyer, then I think that it's pretty standard across the board to have a no return policy. Even big box stores like Pottery Barn or whatever, if you have something monogrammed, then you can't return it, obviously. But if you have products that you can have a return policy on, like let's say you make necklaces, and there's nothing like custom about it or anything, it wasn't a custom order, I would do as much as you can to have a return policy, just because I do think that it allows buyers to know that you are, there's no reason really for you to not have a return policy. So it's just more that you don't want to, which I 100% understand. But I do think that, in terms of things that are sized, like vintage clothing, jewelry that they can't see, all of those things, that it is a good idea to have a return policy. Even, I do think though that you can limit it. Like, it doesn't have to be a return policy, return it whenever you want, I'll give you all your money back and whatever. Like, you can have a fairly, you can have boundaries with it. Like, I have a 7-day return policy and it has to be scanned in with tracking by that 7 days or else no refunds or whatever. All right. Marnie says it's really hard to get reviews for digital downloads. No opportunity to send a handwritten thank you like I would with physical prints. I have a message set up automatically when the purchase is made. And I also just started to send a quick personal thank you message through the combo, but I hesitate to talk about reviews in this message. Any ideas? What I have seen sometimes with digital downloads that I have bought personally is that there will be a PDF download that people do and this is going to depend on how many files you have and how many, if it's too many files for Etsy or whatever, but like people will have the digital download be a PDF with instructions. So, and this works well anyway, if you have questions, from people, but so they buy the purchase and then it goes to their checkout page or their downloads page, and it will show like all the files, but there will be a file that says like start here or read this first or whatever. And in there will be instructions on how to use whatever you're doing. So if it's, let's say it's an art print, here's how you can download it to a floppy disk and bring it somewhere. Here's a print release if you're going to have it printed somewhere that requires you to have a print release, which a lot of places do. And then at the last page of that PDF document, it will say like, your 5-star review is really important to us. Here's how to contact us if you're having issues, and then have like some sort of graphic or something that's like 5 stars to show them. That's one way that I have seen people do it and work around it. I think it's helpful as somebody who's like not super tech savvy. It's helpful to me to go back to documents and know like exactly what the step-by-step is. I've seen this with like Canva templates that I bought. So sometimes it helps me to go back and like, how do I use this thing that I'm doing again? And then it just reminds people again for leaving that review. Deborah said I didn't know floppy disks existed anymore. I mean a flash drive. I meant a flash drive. That was like the mid 90s child in me coming out, not floppy disk. I don't think that floppy disks do exist anymore. I meant how to put it on a flash drive and take it somewhere to be printed. All right. Deborah asked, what's the cost of the Scale Your Sales program? So the Scale Your Sales program is normally $597. During this flash open from Friday to Monday, it will be $497 if you pay in full, and then there is a payment plan as well that is $197. So you can get started for $197, and then there's 3 payments of that. So in the past, I've been like a little bit cagey about the pricing, and people have asked that question a lot. So I just want to be transparent about it. So that is the pricing on it. I think that it has a ton of value. I know my students think that it has a ton of value. So if you have more questions about that, there will be all the information about the program on scaleyouretsySales.com. It's a waiting list right now though, but on Friday it will have all the information. Is there a way to have no shipping for some items and not for others? I sell some blanks, but it killed me when some people purchased a lot of one of my blanks. Those items were already priced at a low price. I'm not sure I understand that question, Jewel. Can you explain a little bit more about what you mean by no shipping and the pricing? I'm a little bit confused. Okay, Marnie says, that's a great idea. I do include a PDF with instructions and more info, so I will add that. Yes, I think that will work. Jill says, I do personalized digital downloads and was told sending it over combos was the best route. But then Etsy wants to know mailing info. Huh. One thing that you could do in doing that, so what I'm understanding, Jill, and you can correct me if I'm not understanding this correctly, but if you're selling a digital product, but Etsy told you that you needed to, Etsy wants a mailing address because you have it listed as a physical product, is what it sounds like. So what I would do in that case is kind of what I was talking about with Marnie. Like, I would list it as a digital product, and then have the digital product be the PDF download of instructions on how to get you all the information that you need to create the actual product. So you do have to attach a file when it's a digital download. But you can do that by doing like a PDF document that says, I need your name and the party date and whatever RSVP phone number. And then like, this is the information that I need. This is a PDF document. So this is all the information that I need. Here's how you get it to me, and send me a convo or whatever. And then I will combo you back with the digital download. I'm surprised that Etsy would want you to send it over combos, because I would imagine that would be a lower quality file. So I don't know exactly what you're making. If you're making something that's like a graphic for online, that might not matter. If it's a printable, I would think that would be a lower quality. So hopefully that makes sense though. All right. Susan says, Scale Your Sales is totally worth it. Marnie says, I'm currently in Scale Your Sales and it's awesome. Well worth it. Thanks, guys. All right. Pamela says, I think she means you can have free shipping on certain listings, but not all of them. That is, I'm thinking that is also, what she meant. But I don't know if she's still in here. I can't see the individual names that are in here. So Jewel, if you have a question afterwards that I haven't addressed, or if you want to explain it a little bit more, I'm happy to do it in the group afterwards. If that is what you mean, free shipping on certain listings and not on others, you can do that. You can set them up as shipping profiles, and you can have free shipping on some, no free shipping on others. Yeah, so Jewel says, the low priced items I sell was purchased as no shipping, but I ended up paying more for shipping than I did for the items. So, I mean, I think that it sounds like this is really a pricing issue more than anything. But I would recommend you have those shipping profiles that are set up so that you can have some free shipping, some not. You could set some to free shipping over $35. You can set some to no free shipping. You're free to do it however you want to. If you turn on the free shipping guarantee in your shop, then it is going to put that with all of them. Like, it's going to kind of do it across the board. So you would, if you want to have some with free shipping and some without free shipping, you have to turn off the free shipping guarantee. All right. I don't see any other questions, so I'm going to log off. But this has been really fun. I'm glad to do this Facebook Live again. Thank you for coming. And I will see you back here to talk about Facebook ads, which has been an extremely hot topic in the Facebook group lately. And we will talk about that on Thursday at 10:30 Eastern. I will be back. And remember to get on that waiting list for Scale Your Sales. If you're interested, scaleyouretsySales.com. And I will see you guys later. Bye for now.